If you don't have access to barbells or dumbbells for heavy loading, and you're looking to work your posterior chain, so to focus on your glutes and your hamstrings, if you've got like a bed, a couch, or like a bench where you can anchor your feet, you can do kind of a watered down version of a Glute-Ham raise. So again, the Glute-Ham raise, obviously, as it states, it's working mostly posterior chain muscles, so we're going to be working glutes, hams, calves, and low back. If you're going to give this a shot, you want to make sure that you've got a bit of experience with using a Glute-Ham raise machine already, and that you've got some decent strength in that lower body before you give the shot, because it is a bit of an advanced version. Along with that, make sure you've warmed yourself up a bit by doing maybe some leg curls with a stability ball, or doing some bridges, so that way the posterior chain's feeling ready to go for this. So as I said, if you've got like a bench, which I have here, and a bit of like a cushioned surface for your knees, because there's a bit of stress on the knees for this exercise, you get yourself set up. So in this case, I'm just using a workbench and a few mats. So our first position when we're doing glute hams, you want to focus on keeping the glutes engaged and kind of the ribs down and the abs tight. So we want to avoid seeing this position. So our first option would be just kind of getting into this position and leaning forward a bit, and just getting to a point where you feel like it's work, but you're not overwhelmed. So I've got a bit of a forward torso lean, and I can feel my glutes, my hams working here in this position. So this would be our first progression, just getting used to this, and then a bit of a, as you get stronger, just going a little farther and farther. Static or isometric training is great because it's going to give you some stimulus at that joint angle, but it's also going to give you some progress 15 degrees above and below where you're training. So I'm going to have benefits a little bit lower and a little bit higher by doing that. Our next option would be just trying to work into a slow negative. So if I'm in that position, I'm feeling good, maybe I can hold a little bit lower, I would just look to control my lowering as slow as I can until I get to a point where I need to help myself, and then kind of pull myself back up, again, ideally with the glutes engaged and keeping that good torso position. So that would be another option. If you're going to do that, make sure you're not overdoing the push-up. A lot of people do a kind of a natural glute-ham raise and then really like overuse the push-up, and they're not really using a lot of the hamstrings to do that. So just be very careful if you're going to use that progression. Another progression we could use would be, again, getting into that good position and hinging at the hips. So doing a bit of a kind of a modified hip extension. So again, glute squeeze, bringing my chest to the ground, and then driving through again with the glutes. So finishing with the hips, and then kind of driving back up to that start position. So again, that would be another progression for you. The last one you could try, similar to the negatives, would be establish a good position in the abdomen, glutes are squeezed, getting into a slow negative, and then using an ab wheel to assist yourself in the negative, and then kind of pull yourself back up. So again, that's a great option because it's going to give us a bit of core stimulus in addition to working the posterior chain. So again, many benefits to using the Glute-Ham raise. Great piece of equipment that's in like most solid gyms. If you're going to use this, make sure you have a bit of experience and a bit of strength in the hamstrings and glutes already. Be careful with it. Again, don't go into a progression that you're not ready for. But again, it's a great substitute for the time being if you don't have access to high tension, high loading gear like kettlebells or barbells. So give that a shot. Hope it works for you.